So, just when we thought Blue Lock couldn't get any crazier, they went and did it. Because chapter 328 just introduced the actual god of football. And nah, this isn't really just some metaphor, there's actually a divine deity that's being set up to lead Isagi Yoichi to becoming the best player in the world, surpassing Noel Noa, Loki, and even his mentor, Jinpachi Ego. Because for the first time ever, we actually see Ego in his prime. We learn what pushed him to create the Blue Lock program, and how Isagi Yoichi wasn't just a lucky pick, he was part of Ego's master plan from the very beginning. So what actually led to this moment? Well, following the previous chapters, and Isagi getting a little bit too big for his boots, Ego decided to call on him privately. Like, he actually pulled him into the principal's office because he genuinely could not fathom what demon possessed Isagi during that last goal. I mean, remember that he didn't even process what happened himself, and he did kind of go against Ego's entire plan versus Nigeria when he really didn't need to. So he's obviously asking Isagi what the hell happened. And Isagi, completely calm, just goes, oh yeah, I was going for my own goal, like an egoist. Felt natural. Remember, at the start of Blue Lock, Ego said that the greatest strikers are the psychos who take the shot themselves, even when there's a better option, or an easier option. So of course, Ego admits that Isagi made the right call, because this has been the exact mindset that he's been encouraging since day one. He even appreciates the fact that Isagi tried something new while they were already dominating, because there was no risk of them losing in the 90th minute. This explains why Isagi wasn't just popping off to begin with, and not risking it. He knew they had Nigeria beat. I mean, literally when the game kicked off, he already had a vision of victory. But then he hits him with the, listen, if you're gonna keep gambling like this, your teammates' brains are gonna short circuit and the entire formation is gonna collapse. And honestly, he's not wrong. This is probably why Snuffy played the way he did. If he went all in on evolving mid-match, nobody on his team would be able to keep up. So he stuck to safe plans and taught his team how to perform them to perfection. But by saying that the rest of the team won't be able to keep up, he is kind of saying that Isagi is built different when compared to everyone else. I mean, we already knew this, but this is just confirmation. Ego says that the method Isagi used should only be a secondary weapon, something he pulls out when they're guaranteed to win or when they've got no other options. Why? Well, because this type of play is unrepeatable, or at least that's how he sees it. You cannot train that moment, it just happens. This ties right into Nagi too. What Ego saw in Nagi at the end of the NEL was his old self. A genius or very talented player who makes miracles that he can never replicate. That's why he was mad. Ego hates temporary formulas. The first time we ever heard of a talent dying was when Nagi pulled off one of the best goals in Blue Lock. He had one crazy goal that was so insane that he'd never be able to do it again. And even his ego was just so lackluster in comparison to everyone else's. Just beating Isagi once was enough for him. No wonder Ego never wanted to play him again. So my theory here is the fact that what if Ego actually went against Noel Noa and he beat Noel Noa, but because he did that, he lost his dream and he lost his ego, and Nagi is the same. But unlike Ego, he's actually finding a way back. But I don't think Ego will ever believe in Nagi because, well, he doesn't see the potential because he didn't have it. Meanwhile, Isagi, he's always thinking about long term, big picture, the future. Isagi says that he understands where Ego is coming from, but he also feels like he's this close to finding the way to literally defeat Noel Noa and become the best in the world. And straight up tells Ego to his face that his football isn't enough for him anymore. And this is something we talked about in past videos. Noel Noa literally foreshadowed this the moment Isagi unlocked Metavision. Don't give up, Isagi Yoichi. This is the path that leads you to me. Meaning that at Ego's peak, he was definitely either the best in the world or damn near close. And since the very beginning, Isagi has very clearly been Ego's chosen one. He was the first to move into Blue Lock as an egoist, being moved by Ego's speech. He crushed Kira and awakened his monster. He made Nico cry with a smile on his face. And Ego watched all of that like a proud dad. And he never believed in anyone to the same level that he did with Isagi. Then you've got the under-20s game. Isagi literally inspired Ego himself not to give up and scored the final goal. Ego's reaction said everything. And then in the NEL, you can see Ego knew Isagi was the one as well. And it took Noel Noa and Loki a while to clock it. The entire league was basically a ritual to awaken Isagi's true ego, with Jinpachi saying that this was the case. And then the final test was him against Rin, probably mirroring Ego's own experience clashing against Noel Noa in his 7 minutes of godhood, which again I'll go into in a little bit. Except unlike Ego, Isagi actually wanted more even after becoming the Demon King of Blue Lock. Anyway, Ego Ego takes Isagi up to the roof following this, which is a classic mentor moment by the way, and asks him about the Nigeria game. If Isagi thinks Ego's football isn't enough, then he better talk about the theory that surpasses his own. Isagi says that watching the game made him realise something huge. He finally understood why he lost in the past, and we also see the kind of games that Ego made Isagi watch in his training arc. It was basically compilations of insane plays, and it made Isagi realise even more that on his own there's a limit to what he can do. He says he'll never beat Noel Noa in terms of physical ability. Even if he reincarnates 100 times, it's impossible. And with Kaiser and Lorenzo, sure he might win sometimes, but in terms of raw individual ability, he'll never be that good. By the way, no one is actually claiming that Isagi is better than Kaiser, because realistically he never fully surpassed him. He beat him in one moment as he admitted, but Kaiser's still a lot better than Isagi. I think it does take some serious delusion. I'm not just an Isagi glazer, I'm also realistic about it. That isn't to say Isagi can't surpass him, as he did in that last moment due to his metavision and ego awakening. I mean, this leads into why he was testing Aiku and Bachiro as well in the Nigeria game. They need Isagi just as much as they need him, because he explains it with his philosophy and what he learned in the NEL. Geniuses and talented learners aren't better or worse, they clash, push against each other, and through that process, infinite evolutions are born. That's the path to becoming the best in the world. Apparently a lot of people read this and went, Isagi's admitting that he's trash! Bro, what? Please learn to read. If anything, this has proven that Isagi is leveling up again. He knows exactly where he's weak and where he's strong, just like he learned from Loki. He was crushed by a genius, he knew he'd never be able to live up to that sort of ability, but he still found a way to counteract it, and you remember the line, right? Keep playing your crazy football geniuses, you'll never defeat us. Isagi knew he couldn't beat Rin and Shido with pure skill, but intelligence plus ego gives him a different route to the top. This is the story of his life, and because I've just brought up Loki, and given that Isagi never actually managed to beat him, my theory is that in the game against France, Isagi will actually push Loki even further and he'll evolve even more, and Isagi will become an actual demon of evolution, because who better to evolve from than Loki? They can keep clashing against each other in that game. But anyway, Isagi has never been the most skilled. I mean, from the very beginning, he was one of the worst in Blue Lock, hence the Isagi comparison in real life. He was known for having subpar dribbling and having barely any technical skill, but he somehow managed to score still. I mean, look at Thomas Muller as well. This is one of the most decorated footballers in history, but he's not really known for any specific technical skill like dribbling, shooting, and yet he's still terrorized football giants. Even Messi struggled to beat teams when Muller was there, until recently when he actually beat him for the first time in the MLS, but still. But why was Thomas Muller able to win so much despite not being as skilled as some others? Well, off the ball movement and spatial awareness faster than anyone else. Sounds familiar, right? I mean, the guy won a World Cup. Football isn't as simple as, oh, whoever shoots the best wins. Isagi even says that when he scored the final NEL goal, it felt like he was guided by a god, realizing that this is what Ego wanted all along. Isagi also says how regardless of how great the geniuses are, he has to keep on being the best version of himself to force them to grow too, wanting more and more new types of football, to prove that he can be the best in the world. And this ties right into Isagi taking over for Ego entirely. He's thinking about the team, Japan, and himself. This whole conversation is a giant passing of the torch, which we've already talked about, but the signs are clear here. Isagi will become the leader and the manager of Blue Lock. He asks if Isagi actually believes in a god of football, not like Maradona or Zico, but something beyond reality. Isagi is just as confused as we are, because why is Mr. Logic suddenly bringing up some magical, mystical BS? Ego explains, when your thoughts and effort perfectly align, when body and mind move as one, you hit a state where luck, environment, everything falls into place. It feels like your destiny is being controlled by something higher, a godlike state of omnipotence. And that's when Ego flashes back to when he was a player. He experienced that godhood for 7 minutes and never again. He genuinely believed that a higher being took over his body that day. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy. Blue Lock is literally turning into Inazuma 11, because why are they now gods? But realistically, this isn't that unrealistic for the series. Bachira literally has a monster and can sense other people's monsters. Ego's god looked like a chimera, a god of adaptability which perfectly matches his and Isagi's playstyle. So what if that god has already passed on to Isagi. Also, might not just be a chimera like I said, it could also relate back to Yatagarasu, which is a mythical crow and guiding god in Shinto mythology, which is known for having a three-legged figure and also being a crow, which looks very similar to what we saw here. And the fact that it's a guiding god could make sense given what we learned about Igo and Isagi, as they both said that it felt like someone else was controlling or guiding their actions. And the appearance of this great bird in mythology is construed as evidence of the will of heaven or divine intervention, which again is what Igo was talking about this chapter. But anyway, Isagi asks Igo to clarify, is this different from just flow or look? And Igo admits that he literally just created those concepts, trying to recreate that divine state that he went into. And then he asks again, Isagi, do you genuinely believe that a god of football exists? And unlike what you believe, and Isagi going, bro, you're actually crazy, what do you mean god of football? Isagi says he does believe in it, because everything since Blue Lock began has lined up perfectly for his growth. And yeah, that fits. He faced the perfect opponents, the perfect circumstances, last minute goals, insane evolutions, it all feels guided. And then when we talk about Kaiser, name someone else in all of Blue Lock that could have pushed Isagi to the limits that Kaiser did. Igo says that the god abandoned him, and that's why he quit football. He believed he wasn't the chosen one. My theory is that this god was testing people, looking for the perfect vessel. Igo didn't have enough pure ego to hold that power, so it moved on and Igo gave up. But before they end the conversation, Isagi tells him, watch me, I'll meet this god of football myself, and the Isagi Yoichi you created will make your dream come true. Igo wants that to happen. And bro, this is classic shonen. The student promising to fulfill the master's dream, which usually means that the master is about to die, but even in Blue Lock, I don't think Igo is going to be assassinated by something. But let's be real, he's probably not staying in the story much longer, or at least being the leader, because how else is Nagi going to get back into the team? I mean, the last few chapters have been centered around him, and he's the secondary protagonist. So Igo can't stick around given the fact that he said he'll never play Nagi in a million years. So yeah, this video I've been glazing Isagi again, because a lot of people are still saying it's plot, and they're being serious. He may have said that the likes of Noel Noa, Loki, and even Kaiser are better than him in terms of ability, but he never said that he'd never be able to beat them. He actually said that sometimes he might get ahead of them on ability, but very rarely, like when he pulled off the two-gun volley. Every time in Blue Lock, he's never beat someone based on ability. Devoured Barrow. When he devoured Barrow, Barrow was like 100 times better than him in terms of ability, but Isagi still won, and that's what matters. Like, leave and go actually watch football and read the series again, because I've never seen a main character hated as much as Isagi, because what the hell. But anyway, we're going to continue to pump out Blue Lock content because the series is just getting more and more insane. But if you do want to check out more content from us, then make sure to check out this video on Code Geass, because it's one of the best videos we've ever made on ABD.